What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host, joined by RJ White and Alex Selelnick, aka Propstarz. Katie Mox is what are we saying? What do they say in the radio business? On assignment, which is, you get the point. She is out for the day, so I'll be taking over, which means more rambling, random tidbits, and of course, all the games in Week 8. This episode of Pick Six is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. If you like winning picks, make sure and sign up at sportsline.com and use the promo code PICK. That's PICK to get your first month for $1. Last episode of the feed had me, Brady, and Dews clearing the air about Deshaun Watson and looking ahead to see what the trade deadline might have in store. We looked at what candidates could be moved. Check it out on our YouTube channel, anywhere you get your podcast. Katie is not here, but it is not related to the fact that she went over last week. Bad week for me and Ms. Mox. I think I went 1-4. Not great. RJ and Propstarz, winning records. You can see our season records here. 1-4, very bad. 19-1 now for me. RJ, buddy, it didn't take you long to completely scoop slam me and get within like half a game of the lead with a 4-2 week. Nice job.
Yeah, it was a two-man effort. It was me finally getting some picks right, and it was you finally getting some picks wrong because you were way out in front.
I was due, yeah. I still don't know, Prop, how the Rams -3 didn't, like, the Steelers are the biggest bunch of magic beans I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, how they're 4-2 and the Rams didn't cover is and like the Ravens didn't cover either is just sort of beyond me. But here we are, Katie Mox 0-6. Wow. That will funnel you down the leading board. 3-2 for Mr. Props, and I get you to 15-17. You guys we're all sort of right there around 500. Katie's rough week, of course, does put a move her a little bit below.
It certainly does, but it's anyone's ball game from here on out, reaching them close to the halfway point, right, Brinson? So I'm fired up. I've got some picks that I love this week already, and yeah, I think it's a great week of football.
A lot of ball game left, as our pal Aaron Nigler likes to say. Let's get to it, and we'll rip through everything in Week 8. We'll start with the Philadelphia Eagles -6.5 heading to Washington with an over/under of 43.5. The Eagles have they've struggled. This game up to 7 now on FanDuel, by the way, which is notable. It's obviously a big move across that key number 2-7. This Eagles team has been very good, but they've got a great record. People have certainly questioned whether or not they've been good, RJ, but they just keep rolling out these wins, and it felt like the passing attack really got going there against Miami last week.
Great game from the passing attack, which is great news rolling into this game against this awful Washington secondary that's just giving up tons of plays and looks very beatable. Washington was just dominated in whole by an awful Giants team with no offensive line and a backup quarterback. It was pretty ugly. Should have been much worse than the final score, I think, in that game. Philly coming off an excellent game from their defense against a great, the best in the league, yards per play wise offense with Miami. Allowed just 244 yards there. It's like 150 less than Miami's gotten in any other game. The offense, he said, passing offense came alive, but they still have some dumb mistakes here. Hurts doesn't look quite MVP level at this point, and I know that he has that knee issue running around on that. It's not supposed to be a problem moving forward, but it is something to monitor, see if it affects his play. But if he does have to stay in the pocket more in this game, I think it's a good thing because you're throwing all over Washington even more. So just watch an offensive line. I'd say they can't protect Howell, but Howell really can't protect himself. He is just a sack machine, just loves holding on to the ball. Bad news here against this Philadelphia pass rush. That Washington offense, none of their first 12 drives went longer than 21 yards last week, and you can see the same thing this week. First game shouldn't have been close. It went to overtime. Some bad Philly flags there. Philly's just so much better than that I think this line should be well north of 7. So I have best bet -6.5. Got it up on the site at 6.5, and now it looks like the market is moving to 7.
Anything for you in this game? Go ahead.
I would agree with RJ's take here, Brinson. I like the Eagles side quite a bit. After that first game where the Eagles really had a lot of mistakes versus Washington, I just don't see Washington basically playing the Eagles tough. 2 games this season, I think there's just a massive mismatch, as RJ mentioned. We got Sam Howell on a record pace as far as taking sacks is concerned. The Eagles' defensive line as good as any in the NFL. So, yeah, the Eagles' passing offense is starting to click. I do think there is something to Jalen Hurts not being 100%. If you guys recall, again, against Miami, there was a play in the red zone, an RPO play, I think like close to like within 10 yards of the end zone, where Hurts went to the outside and he just pulled up right in front of a would-be tackler. And in the past, that is a spot that he would never do that. So I understand wanting to protect himself, but to me, he looks a little bit less than 100%. But yeah, I just think that this is just such a gigantic mismatch pretty much all over the place. So I like the Eagles to roll here as well by double digits. One prop that I like is I'm going to go back to Devontae Smith. We're getting a significant discount here. I know the production has been spotty. It's certainly been the A.J. Brown show thus far, but I definitely think we've got some squeaky wheel narrative regarding Devontae Smith, getting his receiving yards under 50 versus this Washington secondary, which is very burnable, and to me is just an excellent value. So that's a guy I like quite a bit this week.
With Hurts' knee issue, would you take the under on his rush yards? I don't think it's out yet, but what do you think it comes out as, and would you be looking to play it under if it's like in the 40s?
Good question.
Yeah, I'd imagine probably be between like 33 and 37. And yeah, I'd certainly look under. I just don't think he wants to put himself in danger. We saw last year, obviously missing those final couple games at the season. I think his goal really is to get in 17 games, and with him being banged up, they're going to be conservative, coupled with the fact that they're a significant favorite in the game. So definitely, I think the under is in play here, just depending on the number. If it's north of 35.
Yeah, I don't see anything for Hurts on FanDuel right now. I do see DeAndre Swift is up at like 60.5. And then the receiving prop, A.J. Brown, by the way, 91.5. Anytime you get a 90 plus receiving prop, I mean, that is big stuff. Like we saw, was it Justin Jefferson was getting in the 100 range, which is just wild. But A.J. Brown, I believe, going for 6 straight 125-yard receiving games to be the first player in NFL history. Is that right? That's crazy. It feels like Jerry Rice would have done it. Anytime you do a record and like Jerry Rice, a receiving record, Jerry Rice didn't have it. You're doing something right. The Jaguars minus. I got no best bet there. I would lean towards the Eagles for sure as well, though. So maybe that will funnel into a parlay that we put together. We shall see. Jaguars minus 2.5 at the Steelers. Look, we got low totals this week again. 41.5. The Magic Beans here. Alex, the Pittsburgh Magic Beans keep finding a way to win, but they're home dogs here. Jaguars getting a lot of juice as well on FanDuel. You see minus 120, and that total has actually come down to 40.5, meaning we don't expect a ton of points. The Steelers are mired in Canadian red clay in terms of how they move on offense. Just don't do a lot, and you got a prop on the Jaguar side, right?
I do, Brinson. Yeah, I'm going to take a shot at Calvin Ridley here. I think this is a good buy low opportunity for Ridley. Coming off that 1 reception, 4-yard game, it's kind of been a narrative throughout, Jacksonville's side of things for the last few weeks with the spotty production. But yeah, he's obviously just pointing to the team being 5-2. It's just natural ebbs and flows. 2 things I think is working, or 3 things really working in Ridley's favor this week. For one, I actually think getting Zay Jones back on the field will take some attention away from Ridley, open things up a bit. There's a drastic difference, albeit a small sample, between Ridley's production with Zay Jones on and Zay Jones off the field. So that's something that I think will benefit Ridley. Also, the way they're utilizing Minkah Fitzpatrick. Early on in the season, the Steelers were really getting gashed by the run. As a result, they've moved Minkah up into the box. As a result, we've seen just wide receivers just having massive games vertically against Pittsburgh. So I think with that adjustment being made and Pittsburgh having won as a result, I think they're going to kind of stick with Minkah playing closer to the line of scrimmage, and these 2 perimeter corners for Pittsburgh at just this stage of their career, I think are really overmatched. And I just think there's some squeaky wheel narrative here with Ridley as well. He's just been just a massive talking point. He's in the contract year. I just feel like this is a great matchup on paper for him to get going. At only 50 yards, I love it as well. Steelers giving up the 3rd most yards per game in the NFL this season. So checks all the boxes for me here.
Yeah, in this game, and I think I'm having a tough time going which side of the spread here. I think
Yeah.
I like I like Pittsburgh, but they had 72 net yards before the final 3 drives, and I think that was in like 8 drives. They had 72 net yards, so they did absolutely nothing offensively. Got helped by a short touchdown coming off an interception there. So I don't know that I'm upgrading their offense with Deontay Johnson back. It just did not play very well. They're 27th in yards per play now. Jacksonville's defense good versus the run on third down and in the red zone. So I mean, they could limit them pretty well in this game defensively. Pittsburgh 4-2 despite almost a full yard per play differential to the negative side, 0.9 negative yard per play differential. They were been outgained in all 4 wins, so it really is magic beans. They are not outgaining their opponents, and they're finding ways to get wins. Their defense been a little bit mediocre. Jacksonville's offense good at avoiding interceptions and sacks. I think they can move it down the field, get some points here. But my power rating has value on Pittsburgh. Just they have a good home field advantage. I think this gap is a little bit too big here. And if against a 3, I can't ignore the gap. So I'm going to wait for some 3s, see if 3 is out there. And at that point, I might play Pittsburgh.
There are just 3 current playoff teams with a negative point differential through 7 full weeks of the season. Obviously, some teams have played 6 games, some have played 7. But the Falcons, negative 18. The Buccaneers, -1. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, negative 24 point differential. And they are 4-2. I mean, this is like a quintessential. How the hell is this happening? I was on my buddy Bill Barnwell's podcast. You can check that out. The Bill Barnwell Show. We did some fake trades and talked about that. And I mentioned how there's nothing I love more than this. And CBS has done a great job with it. Like cutting to Matt Canada in the offensive coordinator, like in the coaching booth. And he's like, he's up there and he's like, it's like every time they score, like the first one when they had that long bomb against Baltimore where Kenny Pickett and George Pickens, and he's like, people are like, he wasn't even happy they scored. It's like, he's not happy. He just can't believe it. He's like, I didn't call that play. How did that happen? He's like, what? He's like, how did, he's like, no flags, really? He's like, this is amazing. We're going to win this game and I don't know what I'm doing. And then you saw him again against the Rams where he's like, oh, come on. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, I didn't do that either. But Kenny, great job keeping up, pal. It's like I would watch an entire game of Matt Canada completely perplexed that his team keeps scoring, even though he has nothing to do with the play calls. It is absolutely my favorite thing going in the NFL right now. New Orleans Saints, Nolans at the Indianapolis Colts. Derek Carr, a road favorite with a total of 43.5. The Saints -1 now. It was -1.5. Trickled down just a little bit, RJ. I think it was, who was it who tweeted this out? It was Cleve TA. Maybe I talked about it in the pod, but it's like, we talked about it on Monday, I guess, with the early odds show. But like the Saints, Titans, Packers, Falcons, every single week, the line is like -1, -1.5, -2. And you just don't really know what you know. You're going to get some defense, some low scoring games. I guess last Thursday they actually put up a ton of points against the Jaguars, but hard to imagine this being a shootout here.
Yeah, Saints have played in a lot of under type of games. I think it was 11 in a row before that game. So I can see that. Their offense is also 28th in yards per play. They were 3 of 18 on third down last week, and their longest completion was 21 yards. Just the offense is not playing very well right now. Indy's defense, they give up a lot of points, it seems, but they actually held Cleveland to 4.4 yards per play in that game. Just 2 drives of more than 36 yards. It was all turnover based, but that's what you get with Gardner Minshew. I mean, he's going to help both teams score, as much as he can and make it a high scoring game, it seems. Offense, 6.8 yards per play against a great Cleveland defense that plays man. I think it's a good matchup for Minshew again here, even though New Orleans defense is very solid across the board. So you would hope that if you like New Orleans, the defense would carry the team, but it's hard to back that offense on the road. And I think Minshew has a good matchup here. So as long as he doesn't fumble the ball away or throw some easy interceptions, the Colts probably take it here, but this line doesn't know what it wants to be. I'm just a lean Colts right now. But I think that's the way I'm looking because just that I can't trust the New Orleans offense on the road.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing about my buddy, our friend Nick Costos, and I were texting about this with we have the thread I talk about all the time with me, Pete, Jamie, and Nick. And it's like, if you don't get this game right, like I'm in a pick'em league, and if you don't get this game right, you probably didn't do anything wrong. Like the Browns and Colts last week. Like if you picked the wrong team, you didn't really do anything wrong. There was nothing that, like, you're not like, well, I messed up that handicap. Like, no, it's just a crazy game with a low point spread and weird stuff is going to happen. It kind of feels like this might be the same thing, Prop.
Yeah, I would agree, Brinson. As far as props are concerned, there's none out yet. So, nothing to really work with here. I know Zach Moss missed practice yesterday. Haven't seen his status, whether or not he practiced today. That could obviously result in a large workload for Jonathan Taylor, who was starting to resemble the Jonathan Taylor that won the rushing title and had a 2,000-yard season in 2021. He's someone I've got my eye on for sure. Just the Josh Downs continues to have a really impressive rookie season. Love what we're seeing out of him. Had that big play, obviously, last week there. As far as New Orleans offense is concerned, the red zone efficiency is just absolutely horrendous. Just don't know what they want to do. Switching in Taysom Hill, when they get near the 10-yard line. So, it's just been a struggle for New Orleans. Kamara does look good. He's handling some large workloads. Jamal Williams working back into that mix as well, kind of probably mirror that Mark Ingram role that played alongside of Kamara for obviously the last few years. So maybe Chris Olave.
Chris Olave, of course. I was going to say, speaking of, I'm curious what you guys think. RJ, you're in the league, so you'll be more in tune with it. But I did a dynasty trade, 14-man dynasty league. I saw somebody talking about dynasty in the chat. This reminded me. I swapped with Dave Richard. I got CeeDee Lamb, Josh Downs, and Jeff Wilson and Dave's 2024 first-round pick, and gave up Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans, and Alvin Kamara. I feel like I won because I got I'm rebooting. My team got a lot younger, and I traded away the veterans. Obviously, it gives Dave a much better chance of winning this year. But those guys, all older players in terms of where they are on that range. Any thoughts on that trade?
Yeah, we'll see with Josh Downs how he plays with Anthony Richardson long term, because a lot of his production here has come with Minshew. We'll see how big a part of that offense he is. CeeDee Lamb, of course, still very young. I think 24, right? I mean, so he's still going to be a linchpin of that team for 10 years, while Cooper Kupp would have been for 5, 3,
maybe 5. Yeah, maybe. So, I think 2, 3. Yeah.
Sets you up better long term. Probably looking better for you, I'd say, in 2 years. But you'll be the loser of that trade for the next 2 years, and then the winner after that.
That's fine. I got Nick Chubb on my team too, so he's out for the season. So I wanted to kind of do that. All right, moving along. Houston Texans at Panthers. Unless you didn't have a bet on Olave, did you, Alex?
No, I didn't.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry.
Is it with that red zone offense? Is it like Blake Group over field goal season? Like, is that just what we do?
That's a good call.
Every play.
Group might be a good group. I am Group. That could be a good fantasy team name. You want to pick up Blake Group and fire him up mid-season. I might go add Blake Group. I am Group mid show here. Texans at the Panthers. Oh man, 1 and 2. CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young versus CJ Stroud, to put it correctly, respectively. The Texans are laying 3 on the road here, RJ. Now 3.5. Panthers getting heavy juice there at minus 120 on the 3.5, a total of 43.5. This is the first time the Texans have been favored on the road since like our colleague JJ Watt played for him. That's how long it's been. They've been bad. I mean, maybe I'm pretty sure it's Watt, at least since before they had Deshaun Watson playing for him. I kind of love the Panthers here, and I don't really have a great reason for it. I just think I know Texans coming off their bye too, but the Texans can't be 3-point road favorites. Carolina's bad, but they are desperate here, and I think Bryce Young really would like to outplay CJ Stroud and kind of calm everything down.
Yeah, Houston goes from a basement team, because everybody thought they were one of the worst teams in the league, to 3-point road favorites in 6 games. That's a very, very high adjustment going for them. Probably a little bit unwarranted, as much as I love them, but probably a little bit too high. Carolina's actually been competitive in their 2 home games. The last 3 they played on the road that made them look really bad were against top offenses. I don't know that this quite qualifies as a top offense, even with CJ Stroud playing well. And even though the Houston defense allowed 21 or less points in 4 straight, they allowed 400+ yards in 3 of those 4. They're just getting a little bit fortunate to play teams like the Saints that don't know what they're doing in the red zone. And I think this team is going to know what it's doing in the red zone, because it's switching play callers. And now offensive coordinator Thomas Brown taking over the play calling, expected to be a lot more creative with his play calling, a Sean McVay disciple. A lot of people ticketing him for a head coaching role in the future. A lot of fans in this league, and I think he'll step up. He'll have some creative stuff here to do with Bryce Young, and the offense is really going to flow a lot better and take it to the Houston defense here. I love them. They shouldn't be 3-point road favorites. I'm surprised it's growing back up to 3.5. Take the points. I have a best bet Carolina +3, but now that you can get 3.5 again in the market, I would rush to take that.
Yeah, I've got the Panthers +3. Well, so was it 3 or 3.5 when I guess we're locking in at 3? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got the Panthers' best bet is a Panthers +3. I think the Panthers are going to win the game outright. And your point about Thomas Brown, so this is the first time he's called plays at the NFL level, I believe. He's been an offensive coordinator in college before. But I do think, one, you're going to have, dude, this is your debut as a play caller. Panthers fans, I've pointed this out for several weeks now. My mother, Ann Brinson, the retired Reverend Ann Brinson, not a huge sports fan. She's not I mean, she actually was told me, she reminded me that the Phillies game 7 was on when I was at the house a couple of days ago. So maybe she is a huge sports fan. Point being is my mom is texting me why is Frank Reich calling plays? Shouldn't he be giving up the play calling? That's how bad it's gotten for the Panthers and the Panthers fans. That's my mom is texting me about Frank Reich's play calling. If you're Thomas Brown, I think Frank Reich will make sure that, if you're Thomas Brown, you want this to go as well as possible, because then you're getting hyped up. Bryce Young is getting hyped up. David Tepper gets off everybody's ass, and he's on everybody's ass right now in a big, big way. You heard Frank Reich talking about it. I think the Panthers come out and look focused. I don't know if they can take shots down the field. I don't know if they can stretch the field, but I think that they will have the protection schemes beefed up, and I think that they will find a way to win this game. The Rams at the Cowboys. Cowboys -6.5, a quote-unquote big total here of 45.5. This line juiced a little bit on the Rams side. Alex, you've got a best bet here on a receiver prop that is probably going to make my dynasty team happy.
Yeah, I was just going to point that out, Brinson. Yeah, the aforementioned CeeDee Lamb over 65.5 receiving yards. I do as well, Brinson. This Rams team has given up a ton of production to opposing wide receivers. CeeDee Lamb has had a very good season. The numbers obviously haven't jumped off. I think the way that a lot of people were expecting him to enter that top tier, elite tier of wide receiver, but it's really just been a volume-based issue. The efficiency stats are phenomenal. This Cowboys offense has just been very conservative. Likely a byproduct of a lot of those games early in the season where they were up 40-10 and then just not really having to throw a lot in the second half, at least against both New York teams. But in a game with a neutral game script, potentially positive passing environment, which this one projects to be, in my opinion, I think we'll see CeeDee Lamb continue to kind of be the focal point of this passing attack. Just not getting a lot of rushing efficiency from Totally Pollard. In my opinion, the Cowboys offense has looked a lot better when Dak's been airing the ball out. So I think this is a good game environment for that. Love CeeDee Lamb to go over 65.5 yards here.
Yeah, I have a best bet in this game on a team total, and I wanted to especially highlight that because we have team totals now available in the tool at Sportsline for our experts. So you're going to see some team total picks start coming up on Sportsline. I had one in the Thursday night game. We'll see if it hit. Obviously, we don't know that ahead of time. And I have one in this game. I have the Rams going under 19.5 points. The Rams dominated Pittsburgh for 3 quarters, aside from that awful pick to start the second half, but it's not like they did a lot offensively in that game. Stafford is likely to struggle here against an elite pass rush. Dallas defense first in interception rate as well, can create turnovers. And the Rams defense now down to 17th in yards per play, bottom 5 in sack rate and interception rate. I don't know that they're going to put a ton of pressure on Dallas. Dallas should be able to get ahead in this game, I think, and kind of run it down, make this a less possession game there because they're running the ball down. And Dallas offense hasn't scored more than 2 touchdowns in a game since week 1. They're just not that good offensively at getting into the end zone. I do think they cover, but it'll be the offense's fault if they don't. And I think the defense does its job. So I'm looking at their Rams under team total as a best bet.
I got the Rams as a best bet. I think 6.5 is just too much. I mean, this is a Los Angeles team that is, they're 3-4. I really feel like they could be 5-2. They lose by 3 against Cincinnati, and Bengals dominated that game, but they kept it close. And then, I mean, honestly, last week they should have beaten the Steelers. I'm really confused. The worst case, they should be 4-3 instead of 3-4, plus 4 positive point differential. Dallas has a plus 54 point differential, but it's largely buoyed by those early blowouts against the Giants and the Jets. I think the Rams here are live to come through the back door with Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and that passing attack led by Matthew Stafford. All right, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to play a game. Of course, more games we'll pick, but we're also going to play a game and take a look at a special little parlay we're going to put together next.
Saturday starts big, then SEC rivals clash. First at noon, the Hoosiers visit Happy Valley to take on the Nittany Lions. Then, will the Gators take a chomp out of top dog Georgia's march toward history? Saturday on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
I love that. Like, one of the main rules about these shows is like, now look, when we play these ads on YouTube, the people listening to the podcast can't hear it. But it was a SEC on CBS ad or college football on CBS ad, excuse me. And I love that we're like Elvis Costello's "Pump It Up" is getting run now back through there. Love that song. It's a staple of the PCU soundtrack for those people who are veteranly enough to know about PCU. One of the all-time great movies.
Love it.
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, like Jeremy Piven, Jeremy Piven's like first role ever. Jon Favreau is Gutter. I mean, like this is stuff where like this millennial generation, they don't understand what quality cinematography truly was, and it just they watch like these like Netflix like these like Netflix produced series. Netflix is fine, but I was trying to do a bit and it's failing. So instead, it's time for the Pick Six Parlay, where we select a game for a 4-leg money line parlay. There are some rules. First, the person with the best record the previous week gets to add the first leg, second place, second, so on. Ties are broken by season record. If you were watching the beginning of the show, you are probably aware that Catherine, who is not here, and I will bring up the rear on this. So I'll be making 2 picks, one for Katie and one for me. By the end, we have to have at least one plus money pick in there as well. So we must have an underdog. This Pick Six Parlay segment is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Last week, to say that we didn't hit on the parlay would be an understatement. We actually did. We went 1 for 3. The Rams lost to the Steelers. That's on me. I'll take that L. Oh no. So actually, Alex said the Rams. I like the Rams. The Bucks did. Man, wait, which one hit? The Seahawks. The Seahawks win. Seahawks won. Yeah. Seahawks were the only one that won. The -391 won, and the Lions, of course, got stomped. So RJ, as for the second straight week, the best record, you get to make the first pick for the parlay. I mean, look, you're a gentleman of you're a gentleman of the highest order one, but you're also a gamesman, and I assume that you have a heavy favorite to lock in your second straight week of hitting your leg of the parlay.
Yeah, I thought about taking the underdog, the plus money here, and freeing you up from doing it, but I know you're going to do the right thing here in a minute and take the team that I would have put there. So I'm just going to stick to the heavy favorite and go with the Chiefs -335. Kansas City throttled Denver in the first meeting, but the win kept the score down there. Denver's home field advantage has not been there this season. Lost to Washington, Vegas, and the Jets at home. Not worried about that. The only worry for the Chiefs is that they have that look-ahead game against the Dolphins in Germany next week. But their pass offense starting to get settled. I count on them beating bad teams like Denver. So I'm not sure if they cover, but I'm pretty sure that they're going to win the game. So I -335 for the Chiefs as the first leg of our parlay.
All right, so Alex, you have the next leg, and I was going to point out something here that I've noticed before and knowing that I have 2 picks. Based on the games we've talked about, you can probably gather what underdog I might be selecting here, and additionally, I think it's like I just did the quick math on like plugging in 4 300 favorites plus 1 underdog, and you get to 4 to 1. Like we may have got a little too cute week 1 of this FanDuel Pick Six parlay where we're like, oh, we gotta get -130, like some close ones. We can go some pretty heavy chalk as long as we add in that underdog. Just a thought. Do whatever you want. You have the second pick.
I'm going heavy chalk, Brinson, and I wanted to go heavy chalk last week until RJ jumped on that Seattle line in front of me. But yeah, I'm just going to back the Eagles here. I feel like they're in a good spot to win. Obviously, they're -290, -300 here. So yeah, love the Eagles.
All right, Eagles is fantastic because that actually sets up for the exact parlay that I have loaded up here on FanDuel sportsbook.fanduel.com. Even though I'm in North Carolina, which is not a legal state, you can still go in there and look at it. And I have the Chiefs, the Eagles -330, the Chiefs -335. And I'm going to tack on now, is a team on the road. a little concerning. I don't love that. Don't care though. The Ravens minus 3. What did I have? I got the Ravens at minus 480. Ravens are minus 8.5 at the Cardinals. We haven't talked about that game. We'll get to it in a minute. Look, Baltimore's offense really, really stepped up. Lamar Jackson's been playing great this season, and the Cardinals have gotten blown out the last 4 weeks against good teams. They were frisky and feisty early on, not so much the last month or so. And I think Baltimore's offense is going to create major problems for the one of the 5 worst defenses by almost any metric in football this year. And then RJ, am I reading the room correctly in assuming that? So that's my third pick. And then for the final pick, an underdog, the Carolina Panthers, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Panthers is an underdog at home, a 3-point dog to the Texans. I mean, I love this parlay. It is 4-1. The Ravens, Chiefs, Panthers, and Eagles are the 4 teams that have to just win outright. We say that Carolina's probably the hard one, though. I'm sure that one of those 3 like heavy favorites will find a way to like make it difficult to cash out this parlay. But I feel really, really good about this parlay, and I do think that that Katie Mox would get down with the Ravens selection if she was here. Don't you guys agree?
Yeah, unless she took the 49ers minus. They're 3.5 now, so their money line is looking pretty solid there. If she believes in Sam Darnold, then
Sam Darnold,
she might like them. But yeah, she would have to pick last though, so who knows if she likes the Panthers? If you were to take the Ravens and made her take the underdog, I don't know what that means.
That's true. So that's what we got. We got Chiefs minus 335, Eagles minus 330, Ravens minus 480, and the Panthers as a home dog are plus 148. That gives us a plus 407 for a 4-leg parlay. Meaty. I love it. I'm serious. I think that this is a worthwhile parlay to dabble on. And of course, the Pick Six Parlay segment is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. All right, the Atlanta Falcons at the Tennessee Titans. Holy friggin' under here. This total, you don't see this very often in the NFL. 35.5. I don't think it's supposed to be bad weather in Nashville. I mean, it's like nice right now. It's like North Carolina and Nashville's not that far west of here. I mean, it is. It's like 80 degrees outside. Maybe it's supposed to pour down rain. I think it's more of a byproduct of these 2 offense. This is like a Mike Vrabel, Arthur Smith fever dream, RJ, with 2 just teams that they're going to just have Bijan Robinson and Derrick Henry run into each other over and over again. And let's let that, that can just be how this whole thing shakes up. Actually, I'll throw to you, Alex, and said, because you actually have a Bijan Robinson prop after Arthur Smith completely hosed everyone in America by not playing Bijan until the very end of the game, therefore guaranteeing that his unders would cash.
Inexplicable, Brinson. Inexplicable. But yeah, I'm going to go back to Bijan Robinson. Not that I backed him last week, but just can't help it. Big discount here, getting his rushing line at 48.5 yards. He's going to be fresh, obviously, coming into this game. No wear and tear from last week. I just really think everyone, as far as their camp is concerned, are calling for more Bijan. This matchup sets up nicely. I know Tennessee's defense early in the season were very stout. They haven't been nearly as stout. I think a lot of that was reputation-based. Teams have been running on them much more efficiently over the last few weeks. Atlanta's also the type of team that will try and run on anyone, even a good run defense. So, yeah, I think Bijan getting him at 48.5 yards, I think he's a very, very likely candidate to get 13 to 15 carries in this game. If we look at the game environment as well, it's hard for me to imagine Atlanta trailing by double digits and going pass heavy. I just really think this sets up for a ton of rushing volume. I'd be very surprised, barring injury, of course, if Bijan doesn't get at least 15 rushing attempts and at only 48.5 yards. To me, this is my favorite prop so far on the board this week.
Yeah, tough rush defense though. I mean, they're 7th in rush and run defense, and I know they've been a little bit shaky hitting time to time. 28th in pass defense. So you really want to attack them with the pass, especially now that they traded Byard away. It looks like they're selling. So I think that's kind of what you want to do. And now suddenly Atlanta is better with the pass. 400 plus yards, 3 straight on offense. Ritter finally playing well on the road last week, which was interesting. The one thing he had issues with was fumbles, 3 fumbles inside the red zone. I mean, they really dominated Tampa in that game. It should have been a blowout. And it was a very close game, kind of unlucky in that sense. Atlanta's defense, 4th in yards per play, 3rd on 3rd down, and 5th in the red zone. No one has scored more than 24 points on them, and I don't think a Tennessee offense starting Will Levis is going to be the one to break that stretch there. So with a murky quarterback situation where he might not even play all of the game, Malik Willis may factor in. Tennessee's offense can run the ball, but they're awful in a lot of other things, and I think that's kind of where the scoring, the low totals comes from, the disbelief in the Tennessee offense. I think Atlanta might be able to get some points here. So because the total's so low, I might look to the over on Atlanta's team total. I think it's around 18.5 right now, 19.5. But Tennessee doesn't allow a ton of points either, and Atlanta is finding ways not to get into the end zone, even though their offense is playing well. So probably a stay away. Line says it should be pick 'em, but I'm worried about Tennessee's level of effort after trading away Byard. So maybe just a lean to the Falcons here.
Yeah, that Byard thing definitely gives me a little cause for pause. But here's the thing: I'm taking the Titans as a dog here, and I think they win the game outright. They're plus, I'm getting 2.5 at home. Arthur Smith came from Tennessee. Like he tried. You look at the Falcons. Like I've been saying this since the preseason. I mean, he basically tried to build a version of the Titans in Atlanta, centered around a top prospect in terms of the rushing attack. You've got the alpha receivers that you don't really use enough, like AJ Brown was in Tennessee, and you've got this quarterback who can be efficient. You're not really sure if he's good, but he's Desmond, he just finds ways to win in theory, right? That's what he's trying to do. The problem here is the quarterback, of course, Malik Willis and Will Levis. Like that is, Mike Vrabel hadn't committed to either one. It's an extremely concerning setup with those guys, but Willis can get loose with his legs at least. I like the Falcons a ton, but I think this is one where Mike Vrabel just finds a way to get back at his old offensive coordinator and steal a win. Before you move on, I'll say if you do like the Titans and you have it at plus 2.5, this has to be a teaser. You have to put them in a teaser because the total is so low that it should be. It's just a lot, not much variance there. You're not going to lose that game by 9 very often. So get them in the teaser, get it up above the 7, and you should be good to go if you like Tennessee. That's actually a really good point because both the Titans and the Falcons are. And again, I think Arthur Smith wanted to build a team like the Tennessee Titans, and those two teams, it's going to come down to 1 or 2 plays every single week where somebody's kicking a field goal late to try and win it, and I mean, it's just hard. It's hard to see either of these teams blowing each other out. So I like that idea with the teaser. Maybe even include the New York Giants, another home dog. I guess home dog. They're playing the Jets in amounts to the Snoopy Bowl. The Jets -3, quote unquote, at the Giants, another repulsive total here, 36.5, although a little bit of juice on the over, -115, and the Giants catching some juice at -120, +3. I think Tyrod Taylor is Tyrod Taylor or Daniel Jones going to this one, RJ?
We don't know yet. I think, he has said that Daniel Jones is the starter when he's healthy. So we'll see how he looks at the end of this week. Because if he's cleared, he's going to play this game. The Jets won their last game, but then it was not thanks to the offense. It was that ugly Eagles game, +4 turnover margin, had an interception thrown right to them to get the win, ultimately get the win. I know the game wasn't quite over at that point. The Jets offense has had more than 175 passing yards in just 1 of 6 games. They do not throw the ball well. And the Giants defense now playing well somehow. And the offensive line gets Thomas back in this game at left tackle expected. So that's going to actually be a very critical upgrade for them because their offensive line has been a mess. The Jets defense been a little shaky, 15th in yards per play, 22nd in sack rate, 30th on 3rd down. We expected this to be one of the best units in the league, and they are very good at a lot of things, but they're just not good at everything as we expected. I would like the Giants more with Tyrod Taylor. We'll see what the availability is. I think 3 is probably too high if he's the quarterback. And even if Daniel Jones is the quarterback and it stays at 3, I'd lean to the Giants here. I think that's the play.
I read a report prior to coming on here that Tyrod was expected to start, so I don't know if there's an update there. But, I like the Giants offense with Tyrod under center as well. One guy that's really come to life has been Darren Waller. He's really benefited from Tyrod under center. I think something that's also helping him is having effective boundary wide receivers as well. Jalen Hyatt stepping into that role, Darius Slayton, both getting targeted down the field, both offer a lot of speed, kind of opening up the middle of the field for Darren Waller, who had his best game since joining the Giants last week. I like this matchup against the Jets as well, who cover those boundary wide receivers well, and they're vulnerable over the middle of the field, often to tight ends. So look for Darren Waller as a possible best bet from me. Still waiting for his prop to to release, since we don't know the quarterback situation for the Giants.
Yeah, just not a really awesome. Actually, in case it's on CBS, I'll just say it's an awesome game. I can't remember if it's on CBS or not. I'm pretty confident the Pats that the Dolphins will be on CBS. Dolphins -9.5 down in South Florida with a total of 45.5. I got to be honest. I had the Pats as a best bet at +9.5, and I pivoted to the under here. It's gone up a point since Tyreek Hill was seen at practice on Wednesday. Can I bail on that? Like I don't. I sit the Pats under in. I have the Pats +9.5 in my column for CBSSports.com. I don't really know what I want to do here. I've been awful in the Pats this year. I think I'm 1-5, and then I don't know, 1-6 because I took Buffalo last week as a best bet, and the Pats went outright. I honestly I think you could see. I was banking on Tyreek Hill not playing. That was sort of the buzz on Wednesday, was that, or you see the practice on Thursday, maybe. The buzz on Wednesday was that Tyreek might miss a couple of weeks, and now he's just back at practice. Like, what the hell, man? Like, I mean, I wanted that under because I felt like no Tyreek means we've got, Belichick taking out the run game or taking out Jalen Waddle and basically forcing Braxton Berrios, Cedric Wilson, and Chase Claypool, the corpse of Chase Claypool, to beat you in this game. I mean, I don't know. I thought the under looked like a pretty good look, RJ, but now I'm sort of concerned about it. I'll ride it out because I do think the Pats will try and slow this down. We have seen Miami hasn't put up a ton of points against New England since Mike McDaniel took over relative to how they score against everybody else. So I'll take the under, but I'm obviously a lot less enthusiastic about it with Tyreek Hill back at practice on Thursday.
The under should be a pretty good look in most Patriots games with that offense. Yeah. I know that they looked good last week. I was against a really banged up Buffalo defense. Been harping on that for weeks. The injuries are killer for them. New England only had 9 third down attempts in the game, so they didn't even need to get in those situations where they were in trouble. They didn't get to third down very often. Defense on New England's missing key pieces that they had in that 7-point home loss to Miami in week 2. Miami's offense coming off its worst game, as we said, in Philly. That drops them all the way down to the basement level of 7.7 yards per play. I don't know. I'm sure they're embarrassed about that, Mark. They want to get that up here. Miami's home games, 50-point win, 15-point win, 21-point win, all against bad teams. I think New England's still a bad team, even though the market seems to now have some respect for them after that win over Buffalo, which I am not overrating, because they thought that New England team was awful a week ago with that line. And I said at the time, I don't think that line makes sense just because of the Buffalo side. My biggest worry, again, look ahead line here for the Chiefs in Germany and Tyreek Hill. If he plays, I think this line should be well north of 10. I think it should probably be 12.5 or 13. So the look ahead was 13. So I would lean to Miami. Just wait to see on Tyreek's health. And if he's in, then I think they win by double digits.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I got off the Pats +9.5, because I was basically banking on no Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek he just changes everything, because if Belichick shifts his focus to Tyreek Hill and you have to do that on defense, then all of a sudden Jalen Waddle is it can be a number one, and that the run game is just so devastating that out of the Pats are so banged up on defense. It's just it's a tough spot. The Minnesota Vikings -1.5 at the Green Bay Packers. As we mentioned, the Green Bay Packers every single week, 1.5 point favorites or 1.5 point underdogs. Minnesota. Well, I mean, man, you talk about and Minnesota getting a little bit of juice here at -115. The over 41.5 now, also getting a little bit of juice. It is amazing, and this is how the NFL operates, RJ. But the Vikings, 2 weeks ago, the Vikings needed to trade Kirk Cousins and tank for Caleb Williams and give up on their season. And now they beat the Bears. I actually wrote about this after they beat the Bears and sort of for CBSSports.com. And, to be honest, in full disclosure, when I wrote it, I was having trouble coming up with some topics from the 1 p.m. games. And so I was like, I don't know, maybe the Vikings could do something, because I started looking at their schedule. I was like, all right, they'll lose to the Niners, but they got a bunch of winnable games going to the bye. Well, they beat the Niners on Monday Night Football, and now they're just right back in the mix here. I mean, sure, it would be very, very Vikings of them to lose this game in Green Bay against a questionable Packers offense. But you like Minnesota here, right?
I like Minnesota on the first half. It's pretty unbelievable to me that Green Bay's offense was shut out by a historically bad defense in the first half with 2 weeks to prepare with a supposedly great offensive coach in Matt LaFleur. That tells me he might not actually be very good. And I think the jury is starting to think that Jordan Love is not very good. It does not look like a starting quarterback at this point. Green Bay's 21st in yards per play. Minnesota defense, been saying all year, they're better than people think. They faced a lot of top offenses and still ranked pretty well. We saw that come to play in the San Francisco game there. Their defense is going to bring a lot of pressure here. I don't think Jordan Love handles it very well, just from what we've seen from him. And Minnesota showed it still has a good passing quarterback with Kirk Cousins in that game, had a monster game against a very good defense. And Pittsburgh's the Green Bay defense hasn't faced many top quarterbacks. So this could get ugly here. I'm playing the first half money line for Minnesota. It was -110 when we locked in these picks. Now the whole market has Vikings -1.5. While I was a little sporadic about who was going to be favored in this game just a few hours ago, actually. But Green Bay's last 4 first halves was that 9-0 Denver deficit, 10-3 deficit to Vegas, 27-3 deficit to Detroit, 17-0 deficit against the Saints. It's a total of 6 points in the first half in their last 4 games, while they're allowing who knows how many to, I'm not going to do all the math right here, but to a lot of not great offenses, Denver, Vegas, New Orleans, and then of course you have Detroit, which is a very good team. So this is just a team that is not playing well in the first half. So I'm going to take Minnesota to get ahead and get into an early lead and take the money line in their first half.
Hard to get down with anything Green Bay offense related, right, Alex?
Yeah, I would agree. Just a real struggle watching them. RJ mentioned just seeing nothing from that offense against that historically bad Denver defense definitely doesn't inspire a lot of confidence there. Aaron Jones still doesn't look quite 100%. Jordan Love is completely unable to utilize vertical threat like Christian Watson. So yeah, this Packers offense just really struggling right now. And I've been impressed with Brian Flores and the way this defense is playing. Highest blitz rate in the NFL by a significant margin. Have a really hard time seeing, like RJ mentioned, Jordan Love handling that pressure well. So I actually like Minnesota as a look quite a bit. I think the quarterback edge in Minnesota's favor is significant. I think Kirk Cousins is playing very good football right now. So I actually like Minnesota as the best bet here.
Oh, you want to add Minnesota as a best bet? All right,
I will.
Man, maybe we should put the Vikings in that parlay too. But I'll point this out too. Harrison Smith was on the Pat McAfee show, and I noted this on yesterday's podcast. But he said that it was interesting. What he said was interesting to me because he pointed out that he's a veteran. He's been around this league for a long time. He's played in a bunch of different defenses, and he said it's Brian Flores started showing them some stuff. Like he saw some stuff. He's like, I've never seen some of this stuff, and now it feels like. They feel like that Vikings defense feels like they're starting to really kind of figure out how to operate in the Brian Flores defense. And I think it's shown up the last couple of weeks, which just makes Minnesota a much more interesting team if they can get pressure, particularly on a guy like Jordan Love, who is not afraid to turn the ball over or make an errant throw. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, the rest of the Sunday slate. But first, Sunday, we can't wait for an NFL on CBS doubleheader. The early games feature Trevor Lawrence and the Jags on the road against the Steelers. Later, Burrow's Bengals try to stop McCaffrey and the 49ers. It all begins at noon Eastern with JB and the guys on the NFL Today. All Hell Sunday, the NFL is on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus. Coming up after the break, the Browns and the Seahawks. Oh my, we'll tell you who wins that game next.
On the next NFL Monday QB, classic rivalries, draft class foes, and everything in between. Go under center on the only NFL show all about quarterbacks. Monday on CBS Sports Network.
I got a confession. I love Jay Cutler so much. I like Jay Cutler should be so hateable, and I love Jay Cutler. He's on the NFL Monday QB show on CBS Sports Network, along with our pal Adam Shine and a host of other CBS Sports NFL quarterback talent. Man, Cutler he's just disdain for just everything, like total like lack of F's given, just the whole vibe. I just love it so much. The Browns at the Seahawks. Seahawks -3.5 here, Alex, with another ridiculous total, 38.5. It's actually juiced the under 2 a little bit, and the Seahawks catching some juice as well at -3.5. Deshaun Watson And I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but my goodness, I don't think I'll get yelled at for reading it because I'm simply reading a quote from Devin Witherspoon. Somebody sent this to my group chat. Devin Witherspoon on Deshaun Watson being ruled out. I guess the doctors, this is a quote, direct quote. I guess the doctors I think this is a quote. Surely I'm not falling for some, you know what? I'm not going to read the quote. I just realized that I don't know if, you know what? I'm not sure that person is a real Twitter account. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see how much I just blushed realizing that is 100% a fake quote.
That was incredible to watch in real time.
Oh my God. I am so glad I didn't read that quote. Holy moly. Alex, you've got a prop in this one. Oh man.
I do have a prop. Yeah, it's probably not as good as that quote though, unfortunately. But I'm going to take Kareem Hunt under 46.5 rushing yards. Yeah, I just think this number is 4 to 6 yards too high for Kareem Hunt. Obviously, no, there's no Jerome Ford in that Cleveland backfield, but we saw what happened last week when Ford went down. It was primarily the Pierre Strong show. I don't think at this stage of Kareem Hunt's career, they really want to utilize him as a feature back. I think it's going to be a 1A, 1B type situation. And then Kareem Hunt just isn't the same running back that he was in years past. All the efficiency metrics are very low this year. Seattle's run defense is excellent as well. I know they're a little bit banged up in their linebacker group, but I do anticipate Jordan Brooks and Bobby Wagner both to suit up in this game. Brinson mentioned the very low total as well. I just think yards are going to be hard to come by, especially when it comes to running the ball. I really don't see Kareem Hunt eclipsing 10, 11 carries at most. So unless he breaks a big run, which he's really not doing at this stage of his career, I think there's a good shot he stays under 46.5 rushing yards.
And he's playing one of the best run defenses in the league. They're third in yards per rush, but I believe they entered the last game first. And maybe a little bit of weakness there, but I think they're going to handle the Cleveland offense here with whoever's playing quarterback. We expect PJ Walker there. But if he struggles again, who knows if he finishes the game. The Seattle defense now third in yards per play overall on the season too. They're not quite in Cleveland's tier, because how great the Cleveland defense is, but they're pretty close, I think. And the Cleveland offense is well below Seattle's offense, which is pretty solid. It was a lucky win for the Browns last week, 4.4 yards per play. Only 2 of their 15 drives went over 40 yards. They're going to need bad turnovers to win this game. And Seattle covered last week despite a -3 turnover margin. They are capable of bad turnovers, so maybe Cleveland gets one of those magic bean situations and escapes with the win here. But on Sportsline, we took Seattle -2.5. There, even with Deshaun Watson was on track to play, there's no business. This line had no business being on that side of 3. I'm still going to lock it in on this podcast as at -3.5 is a best bet. Seattle gets 2 for home field, and I think this line should be 6. I think that's the gap between these teams right now.
All right. I actually think Seattle's a really good look as well, and would probably add them as a best bet if we weren't pushed for time and I hadn't already sent in my best bet. So instead, I'll go to Cincinnati at San Francisco. We're going to rip through these last couple of games pretty quickly. I'm going to take the under here, 43.5. The Bengals, Brock Purdy's not going to play. Brock Purdy's not going to play this game. I don't think, we haven't seen a single player who's entered concussion protocol either in the game or during the week that was actually played the following week. So it's going to be Sam Darnold. I think Kyle Shanahan will try to protect him, not want to throw the ball around too much with Darnold, as good as Darnold can be, I think, in this offense. And then the Bengals coming out of the bye, I expect them to try to run the ball a decent amount. See if they can get something going on the ground against San Francisco. I like the under here. Anybody want to weigh in on this game?
Really depends on what you think Joe Burrow is going to be coming out of the bye with 2 weeks to rest now, because he hasn't been great. The offense 32nd in yards per play. And I think a lot of what we think the Bengals are going to be moving forward is projection and them taking a step up at some point. This line was San Francisco -1 before the season. That tells you how far the Bengals have fallen. So if you think that you're getting at that Bengals team that we thought from before the season, they're definitely the play here on the other side of 3. I think Darnold can have some success here. I don't think Burrow's going to be all the way back, since he's defense also 30th in yards per rush. So they can just really lean on the run there too with McCaffrey and have a good game. So I would lean to San Francisco, hoping to get it at 3. But it looks like the market's kind of settled on 3.5 right now.
Ravens minus 8.5 at the Cardinals, over under 44.5. The Cardinals, again, they were frisky as hail the first couple weeks of the season. And then the last 4 weeks, they lose 35-16 to the Niners, 34-20 to the Bengals, 26-9 to the Rams, and 20-10 to the Seahawks. 3 of those 4 on the road, of course. The Bengals game was in Arizona. Baltimore coming in hot here, Prop. You think, I mean, to me, by the way, Lamar Jackson, if you're going to make a bet Lamar Jackson to win MVP right now, because he's going to be the favorite in a couple of weeks. He gets the Cardinals and then Seattle. I think you can probably Seattle's defense much better, but you can throw on those teams, and I expect him to be in the 2-1, 3-1 range within the fortnight.
I couldn't agree more, Brinson. I was literally about to make the same exact point as you. Lamar is my pick for MVP, especially looking at the board right now. I believe he's the 4th in odds, so I think there's still a lot of value to be had there. Just been so impressed with this Ravens offense, specifically Lamar, but really just, the Todd Monken effect, his completion percentage, career high, just looks very comfortable dropping back. Zay Flowers has had a really good rookie season as well. Saw that Mark Andrews breakout we had been waiting for. So, yeah, they're just clicking on all cylinders. Love what I've seen out of Baltimore's offense. As far as the Cardinals are concerned, they've just really cratered over the past few weeks, playing well above expectations. That's something we had talked about at length on this very podcast, was fading them the last few weeks. And, they're
just profitable for sure.
Very profitable, losing by double digits, I think 3 of the 4 last week. So,
all 4 weeks. Yeah. Lost by double digits all 4 weeks. Chiefs minus 7.5 at the Broncos. Sorry, I'm trying to keep this show at an hour so I don't get yelled at. Katie keeps it under an hour. Brinson, what's your problem? No buys. Chiefs minus 7.5 at the Broncos, over under 45.5. The over getting a little bit of juice. The Broncos getting minus 120 here. RJ, you had the Chiefs as the money line pick in our parlay. Do you like them as a possible teaser leg, or is that a little too cute for you?
You could tease them. I think that's fine if you can get the 7.5. If it's at 7 and you like the Chiefs, you might as well just play them there. Their offense was masterful in the first half against the Chargers, starting to figure out who to target on the wide receivers. Yeah. Denver's D shut down a bad Green Bay offense for a half. They're still 32nd in yards per play, and it seems like Kansas City can put up whatever it wants to on this defense. The Denver offense can run the ball on Kansas City, though. But if they fall behind, it's over. They were outgained nearly 2-1 in that first meeting. Kansas City had 389 yards to 197. The score didn't really reflect it. Kansas City is capable of running away, but again, it's a look ahead next week. Divisional matchup on the road. At 7.5, I would lean Denver, but at 7, I think Kansas City's probably the value.
Travis Kelce, 12 catches on 13 targets in Arrowhead Stadium against the Chargers, with his girlfriend Taylor Swift watching, among many other people and Chiefs faithful. 179 yards, ridiculous. 84 yards for Marcus Valdes-Scantling. 4 different receivers caught a touchdown pass, including your boy Ray Rice, who you've been hyping up. Prop. I've been telling people, I'm not in leagues with them, to pick him up in fantasy. Think you were right there, and he is going to develop. Certainly a guy that Patrick Mahomes seems comfortable with and trust. The Bears at the Chargers. Chargers minus 8.5. This is Sunday Night Football. Over under 46.5. No real movement here, just kind of sitting stagnant. I think, is Justin Fields out, or is it? I mean, I think it's going to be Tyler Bagent, aka Secret Bagent Man, starting for the second straight week. Bears have been frisky. I mean, I wouldn't want to make him a best bet, RJ. 8.5, but I do feel like I think the Chargers probably win, but I feel like the Bears could backdoor cover this.
Yeah, Tyler Bagent's so underrated. His name's actually Tyson Bagent.
Tyson.
Tyler.
I just call him Secret Bagent Man. That's all I know.
Secret Bagent Man.
Bagent Man.
They won that game. He had 4.4 yards per pass in that game. He wasn't that great. I know he led the offense well. It was against a very bad Raiders team. This is a step up, even though the Chargers defense 31st in yards per play, 32nd in yards per pass. After another awful showing for them, it might not matter here, because I don't think Tyson Bagent on the road is somebody that's going to get it done in this matchup. Chiefs, the Chargers offense 6th in red zone rate, where the Chicago defense is 31st. So Chargers can put up a big number, score some touchdowns instead of field goals like they typically like to do. Best bet here is to tease it while it's less than 9. I'm putting Chargers in a teaser with the Lions, who play on Monday night. Get them both down under 9, go minus 2.5. And I don't see how either of those teams don't win by more than 3 points or more.
I actually think the under's a good look in this game, personally. Chicago's offense, mentioned with Bayesian under center, he's just not throwing the ball down the field whatsoever. They're sustaining extremely long drives. Dante Foreman had the good game against the Raiders as well. I think it's just going to be very conservative offense from them. The Bears' defense has actually performed well the last 3 or 4 weeks as well. So I think with Justin Herbert, with the thumb injury being at less than 100%, the offense hasn't looked the same without Mike Williams. Josh Palmer banged up. I just think this game has the potential to be a lower scoring variety. So I think the under 46.5 is a good look here.
All right, let's recap our bets, our best bets for week 8 of the 2023 NFL season. Katie Mock's not here, so we don't have hers. She gets the big X, which means, you know what? Katie got good news. She's good, so I'm going to go ahead and make fun of her for this one. She's going to get as many right this week as she did last week. Okay, that was unnecessary and mean. That's fine.
Typically, the X there in a box means a strike, and it's very good because it's a bowling thing. So I think
that's right. That's right. That is, yeah. Excellent work by Harry. Is always putting these together. I've got the Panthers. I'm going to read. I got the Panthers +3, the Rams +6.5, the Titans +2.5, and 2 unders. New England, Miami under 45.5, and Cincy, San Fran under 43.5. Reacting aggressively to injury news that will surely bite me in the ass. RJ has Philly -6.5, Carolina +3, the Rams team total under 19.5, Minnesota first half money line, the Seahawks -3.5, and a teaser with the Chargers -2.5 and the Lions -2.5. That's the Monday night teaser special. Alex has the Calvin Ridley over 52.5 receiving yards, CeeDee Lamb over 65.5 receiving yards, Bijan Robinson over 48.5 rushing yards, and Kareem Hunt under 46.5 rushing yards. That'll do it for our show. The Best Bets Week 8 show will be back on Sunday night with the Super Friends. Make sure to subscribe, smash the like button, turn on alerts, and if you're listening to the audio version, give us a 5-star review. For Alex, for RJ, I'm Brinson. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys later.